and welcome to Fender Play Live. I'm your host, Eugene Edwards, coming to you live from Los Angeles. And today we're going to try something a little different than our usual show. We're going to be talking about a super important topic for all guitar players and really all musicians, how not to quit. We're going to dive into some big reasons why we here at Fender Play see people quitting, and we're going to hopefully give some helpful advice with a panel of experts. But we also want to hear from you, the audience, about why you struggle to stay motivated, and hopefully we can help you out in real time. So to help me out, it's a bit of a panel show. I have two expert guitarists. They're also expert teachers who many of you already know. It's Jensen Dylan and Dylan Caligiuri. Welcome, you two.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Thanks, Eugene.
Hey, when's the last time we all got together like this? This is nice.
Not enough. Truly
enough,
not enough. Yeah.
So both of you are holding guitars. You're wired up for sound. Jensen, will you go first? What are you playing, and can we hear it?
Oh, absolutely. This is my Troublemaker Telly. This is the newest member of my family that I adore. It's got the double humbuckers in there, and I just think it's the sweetest sounding. Oh man, it's one of those that just makes me happy. You know, like you got this kind of dirty sound in the neck, but then in the bridge it still like pushes through. Oh, that's all I have to say about that. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. And so, well, now many of you probably know these two, but for those who don't, these guys are experts in learning. So, Jensen, your online lessons have 75 million views, and you've been an Fender Play instructor from day one.
That is correct. All of that is accurate. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing your expertise. And Dylan, what do you have there, and can we hear it?
You know, this is a bit of a sneak peek here because this is the new Fender Pro American II. This is the Mercury Deluxe Telly. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff to report on here. I'll just start by playing a little bit of it so you can hear it. So you'll get to hear a little bit more of it, but it's got a push pull that does some really cool pickup combinations. It's got these V-mod pickups in it. This is a killing guitar. I have another one I'm going to play later on too. It's a very fresh color. You'll see. It's
a Telecaster with two humbuckers. I think I need to make a phone call after this today's show.
Mm-hmm. Science!
So, Dylan, speaking of science, you have a PhD in guitar, and you've worked with Fender Play for several years as well. So thank you for both of you for lending your expertise to this really, really big topic. So hopefully we're going to give you some helpful advice for overcoming some major learning roadblocks. But we also want to give you the audience some time to get your questions answered by these two experts. So start dropping those questions about learning roadblocks in the comments as soon as you can. If there's any problems you've been having, any questions you've been having, please, today is the day, and we want to devote a good portion of today's show to answering your questions. Now, let's get some things kicked off with some playing. Jensen, can you play something for us from the Fender Play site, just to kind of get the ball rolling?
Yes, absolutely. So I picked Material Girl by Madonna because I wanted to. And it's my life, and you can't tell me what to do.
Troublemaker.
Jeez, wow. A defiant choice, yeah.
I know. I picked Material Girl, one, because I do love Madonna, especially that 80s stuff had just the most incredible musicians on it that you could possibly imagine. You guys know. But also, one of the things that I'm going to talk about today is when you have no time to practice. So here is an easy riff from the opening of Material Girl. So if you're like, I only have 5 minutes or so, check out something like this. So all it is Wait, hold on, stop for a second. Barry's gonna get mad at me for being out of tune. I'm gonna get in trouble for being out of tune. Sorry, Barry. Sorry, Perry. I'm
That's
always
hilarious.
out of tune, just so everybody knows. That's my disclaimer. But so what I like about that is that it's 2, 4, 6, 8 measures that you can just try to get through, you know, And it's not this big chunk of time where you feel like you have to get through an entire song or an entire solo. It's like, let's just take on this riff that is recognizable.
So you're saying like set an attainable goal that won't take up a lot of time. So that way it doesn't feel like you're spinning wheels at all.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we talk about not having enough time, I think there's a huge misconception that to get better at anything that you need to devote 2, 3, 4 hours a day to get better. And I hear students tell me this all the time. It's like, well, what's the point of even starting? I don't have 2 hours to give. And you go, that's such a misconception that really to get better, all you need is 1 to 5 minutes. As long as you're challenging yourself to learn something new. That's the big thing. If you take that 1 to 5 minutes to review or just be grumpy about playing guitar, which I know all three of us have done.
I was like, that's my segment,
Dylan.
Jensen.
But like, if you say, you know what, I'm exhausted. Obviously, times are crazy right now. So it is exhausting. And to add in another thing into your life can be difficult. So if you just say, okay, look, I've got 1 to 5 minutes here. I'm going to learn one new chord. That's it. And that's the new chord that I'm going to learn for this week or review. You're going to get better. Another thing that you can do is if you're struggling, just set a timer. Set a timer for 1 minute. Pick up the guitar for 1 minute. And I guarantee you, it'll go off at the 1 minute and you'll be like, oh, I think I could do a little bit more. Or you'll be like, great, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. Now, I'm going to call some of you out. I don't know.
Here it comes.
Get ready for it.
I knew this was going to happen.
You ready? So the question is, how many times do you get on your social media during the day? I'll take your answers, Dylan and Eugene. How many times?
Okay, 0. But I made the move where I actually have somebody handling it for me.
Oh,
I went the extreme
time.
route. I'm practically Amish on this one now. Like I
Okay.
just have someone else handling that. So I should be a better guitar player by now.
Well, I'm going to be the complete opposite because I help work with the Fender Play community. So I'm on it right now. It's just right here. I'm actually looking at it right now. And
literally staring at the feed,
Yeah.
the Facebook feed going.
focus is at a premium these days, folks. That's what I'll say.
Well, so here's the thing. Most people check their social media between 5 and 20 times a day. So if you have that time, even though they're just micro moments, if you added that up, that could be 1 to 5 minutes of playing. So one thing that helps me, even in my own practice session, or if I want to get something done that maybe is intimidating, is saying, okay, just do it before you jump on Instagram. So just practice guitar for 1 minute before you log on to Instagram. Practice guitar 1 minute before you get on Facebook.
That's brilliant. You make it a reward system for yourself, right? In a way, you're kind of incentivizing that time on guitar, and or eventually it just becomes a practice. Is that you'll grab the guitar for a minute. That'll just be the habit, along with going on social media.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's setting up a routine that you know already is in place. You know that you're going to check social media probably around these times.
Yeah.
So already the habit of checking something or of engaging in something that's not work, that's not family, is there. So if you can insert in a hobby that you want to do, and that's guitar, it could be drawing, it could be singing, it could be anything. If you can insert it in there, then you already have these set times where you know you're kind of logged off for a second, if that makes sense.
It does. So it seems as though we said lack of time, but it seems like it's a perceived lack of time. It's really the probably the biggest reason people quit learning guitar. So this is a really important thing, and I know that we're getting tons of questions already, which is a good point, but that means I'm going to roll through to the next thing here. So remember, you can see Jensen in lots of videos on Fender Play, which right now is free for 3 months. So no better time than now to start. And 90% of people quit within the first 3 months. So if you make it through that, you've accomplished a lot already. You got past that first wave. Next up, let's hear Dylan about another roadblock. But first, can you play for us, Dylan? I know you're shy. I'm going to have to coax that out of you.
Yes. Well, you know what? I'll play this. This is I Ice Cream Man by Van Halen ode
Very cool.
to EVH. And I'll play it in its originality, and I'll show you how I kind of made it a challenge for myself to want to keep going and keep moving. So here's originally... So to kind of add a little bit of edge to that, I've literally been adding putting little riffs in there, and then even trying to take on the solo. I hope nobody official's watching. Let's see here. Anyways, so it's proof that we're all still learning.
Dr. Dylan.
We're all still learning. So,
the doctor is in. So here's we're just going to jump to a question right now because it's there. This is from Daniel Bobke. He's asking, what does a good daily practice session consist of? Pardon the preposition. Jensen, I'm going to ask you to field this one if you don't mind.
Okay, so a good daily practice session is definitely something that you're going to start on. So let's just say I'm going to start on learning a new chord, or I'm going to start on learning a new scale, or start on learning a new song. That's important. That I would begin with that. Then go to something that you're kind of in the middle of like, oh, maybe I'm working on a C to A minor transition, or maybe I'm in the middle of working on this A minor pentatonic scale. And then move to something that you're really just reviewing, like a song that you're like, oh, I feel good about, I just kind of want to keep it fresh. So there's always different layers that you're hitting. You're hitting that new thing that's challenging. You're getting that second thing kind of up to speed. Mm-hmm. and digging into it a little bit more, and then you're reviewing and kind of having fun. And I would always go in that order of most challenging first, because then everything tends to get easier, and it's also harder when it's flipped, because then we just kind of want to mess around. Like if I'm just going to play around with a song, I'm going to end up noodling for an hour. Then my time's up. I got to go do adult things, like pay bills and like get my car washed and be an adult human. So if you flip it to make it the most challenging thing first, then you'll end up making more progress, and chances are your level will increase a lot more because you're hitting those new things. Because remember, practicing is all about trying to do something new. There's a difference between practicing, playing, and reviewing. So make sure that you know what you're doing in those times.
Great answer. Now, another roadblock we hear about is that people feel that they just don't have the talent or the skill, and they get frustrated. And we just heard you play a song, and it might seem easy for you, but you learn how to play it like everybody else, right, Dylan? So what's your advice for people who feel they don't have the talent, the perceived, I should say, lack of talent?
Yeah, it's definitely a perception. I mean, there's certainly people have aptitude, but talent to some extent can be a myth, right? A great example would be Leopold Mozart, who was Mozart's father, wrote the Premier at the time, which would have been the Fender Play for violins. And so when Mozart was growing up, he was literally immersed in music in every possible way. And he wrote an opera by the time he was 12. Anyways, it goes on, Marriage of Figaro. But the idea is one of the things about the perception of talent is that without tenacity, talent reaches limits quickly. So you really... If you think you're short on talent, which is a narrative, by the way, that you can change, but if you do think you're short, remember that you can always push through that by rewarding yourself on a regular basis. And a lot of what Jensen was just talking about was fragmenting things out and then giving yourself a reward. Instagram was the reward in the first example. Learning the song was the reward after doing scales in the second example. And just saying, you know what, here's where I was, look where I am now, look how much I've done. That is a dopamine hit. That is, my dissertation was on neuroscience and music teaching and learning, and it was about how neurons are connected. Things happen when you feel like you're getting something done. It's the jet fuel. So it's really all about realizing that you are accomplishing something simply by sitting down and doing something new and enjoying your life and living in the moment and playing an instrument. And music is a listening sport. Never forget that. You want inspiration? Listen. That's where it comes.
Here's a relevant question, I think, from Carol Ann Meyer, saying the biggest pull to quit is the feeling that I suck. guitar is hard. And so it's helpful to get feedback from others that I'm actually improving, because as a learner, it seems like there's always so much more that I don't know or I can't do. And I think that's a beautiful thing to mention. Thank you, Carol Ann, for mentioning that. And that does tie into something I'm gonna mention later in terms of having an audience. And I think Dylan, that kind of ties into what you're speaking of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, Carol, I sincerely doubt that you suck, first of all. And then second of all, I think that a community like Fender Play community, or somewhere where you've got a bunch of people that are in the same position that you are, that are sort of on that journey with you, remembering that the journey to learning how to play is actually the fun part. Mm-hmm. It's really not first of all, you never arrive. Everybody sitting here never feels like you're God's gift to guitar. I heard an interview with Slash today, and they said, how does it feel to be a rock god? And he said, I don't think I am a rock god. So you never arrive. The real thing is about the journey of where you're going and learning how to enjoy that. And that applies to all sections of our life. And so this is why the agitation of learning guitar and learning something new and experiencing yourself in an agitated state for a moment is so important, because you lean into fear and you conquer it and you move on and you learn.
Look how long it took Slash to learn how to put on a shirt.
Yeah. At least so 50, I don't know.
So we have I just
You're
love.
so dumb, Eugene.
I just love hearing Jensen's laugh. Jensen has one of my favorite laughs on the planet. I'm always just looking for a punchline. So we have a couple of questions that are going to lead into the next segment. First, from someone by the handle of Run Amok, saying, I'm stuck, staying motivated when you just can't get that next thing. And Bob Grill says he gets concerned when he doesn't feel like he's progressing. So he wants to know how to avoid plateaus or how to get past them. These are great questions. And remember, all these tunes that you're hearing today, by the way, you can learn on Fender Play. And don't forget your questions about learning roadblocks. If you have them, keep them coming, because Dylan and Jensen can handle them, as can I. But first I'm going to show off. I'm going to hold off. This is a teaser. Look at that. It's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
That's All Right, Mama, by Elvis Presley, and of course Scotty Moore on guitar. And I remember when I first wanted to learn that song, and I had roadblocks, and I was able to push through them. But one of the first things was what brought me to that song was I wanted to learn that style. I had been playing a lot of Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and sort of classic rock, and I wanted to dip into that bag, and that actually helped push me forward. I had hit a plateau, and then I started to get into rockabilly guitar. So that's what we want to talk about now is the dreaded plateau. And lots of people make some headway. Maybe, and in a lot of cases, people learn their first position chords, or they learn some strumming patterns, and then they feel stuck, and they don't know where to go from there. They look at the rest of the neck of the guitar, and they just feel like that just kind of looks like they're like Alice lost in Wonderland all of a sudden. So I have a few tips. One thing is change your style. Look, if you've been studying heavy metal and you're a heavy metal player, fantastic. But if you feel like you're in a plateau, then I say just dive into funk. Just learn some songs by the Meters, or just go all that way. Just dive into a whole other style, because it really will be a new world, and hopefully it'll excite you. And by the way, as you drift back into your heavy metal, then your take on Living Colour or Led Zeppelin will probably be a little more accurate, because those acts involved funk in a lot of their riffs. So that's the thing. So change up your style. That can help you, inspire you. Also, I say, and Dylan, tying into one of your answers, find an audience. It'll give you a little more reason to play. It'll get you past. I had a guy. This is a quick story. I had somebody come here to. It was a telephone repairman. and he was in here. This is a couple of years ago, and I had an acoustic out. And after he helped me solve my problem, he says, "Can I play your guitar?" I said, "Sure." So I handed it to him, and the guy played beautifully. I mean, tears to your eyes. This chord melody playing, and I was complete. And then he said that he says he learns, he can sight read really well, but he doesn't know what to do after that. And it turns out he's a real church going man. And I said, you have a built-in audience. Every Sunday or every other Sunday, just assign yourself that you're going to play in public. And we followed up, and he did. He started doing that, and he started learning more pieces because he was able to now play in front of people. Yeah. So finding an audience can be huge. Also, kind of like tennis, try and play along with someone who's more advanced than you. You will definitely get a lot of feedback, and it'll up your game quite a bit. And also, you'll be hearing and seeing what they do. As you said, listening is an active sport. So you're going to hear them, and that's going to help inspire you, because it's easy to get stuck in your practice room or kind of on your couch and feeling quite alone. Anyway, I can add more, but I think we should get to some questions. So Donna Steele, this is a question, has a question saying she's just starting to learn, but having lots of trouble with her hands because she feels they're too small. Jensen, can you advise her on this?
Yes, I can. Most people know I have what we call hamster hands. They're very, very tiny. Let me just do a little comparison. Here is just a regular pencil. Okay, all right, a big pencil.
Maybe get a quarter for scale or something.
This is what we're working with here.
Wow.
Okay, you with me? So yes, I have very, very small hands, very, very small feet. I'm just a small person. Pretty small heart too. We're trying to work on that.
That's not true. No.
That's not true.
Not co-signed.
We know that's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
No signing.
Okay.
No.
Okay. But so one thing to consider is, do you have the right instrument for your hand and body size? So for instance, I'm not sure what guitar you're playing with, but if you're playing with an acoustic dreadnought, it might just be a little too big for you for where you're at right now. So getting a smaller bodied guitar can really help. Starting on electric can help with the lighter strings. Also, I'm a huge fan in general, but for people with smaller hands, of sitting classical style, because then we don't have to kind of get our hand in these crazy positions. It naturally sits pretty well. So I'm able to get almost to the 5th fret now from 1 to 5, which is a huge milestone for me. So maybe sitting classical style, because it'll naturally go with your hand shape. And because like my pinky is so short, like I don't even look. It's like half the size of a pig. Right?
So that's a great answer. And you're right. Different models of guitars have different scale. Even necks, the fret distance could be different. So you might want to, just talk to someone at a store or talk to other guitar players about models that could accommodate that. We have a question from Mike. Should I start with harder songs and riffs that interest me and work on them till I can play them, or work through the very basics first? Dr. Dylan, please take this one.
That's a great question, Mike. I think that one of the risks of learning harder things when you're not quite ready for them might be developing some bad habits. And then one of the risks of not learning something that challenges you is not wanting to do it, right? So building up to learning something harder is a great way to incrementally move into it. So let's say you were going to learn... which is Cold Shot by Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? And you wanted to get all the inflections in there. You want to have all that stuff in there. So there's about 15 different techniques in just, that's why it's such a humanized version. That's why his playing is so conducive to listening, because it's so human. But there's a lot of things for you to lead up to learning that. So digging into each one of those individually is a great way to increment out you learning what you want to learn without having to compromise, and also not having to worry about getting bad habits. And that has to do with great instruction, and you're in the right spot for that in terms of micro lessons and parsing things out and making them digestible.
I'd like to remind everybody, on Fender Play, a lot of the skills and drills lessons, they're a minute, 2 minutes at most. Yeah. So going back to the time issue, you're right. The site addresses that really well. Here's another question. Jensen, you take this one from Stephen Q. How do I surrender to using a metronome?
I love that one. Surrender to using a metronome.
I know.
Well, one thing is that actually you don't technically have to if you don't want to. You could try using a drum machine, because really you want to lock into something that has grid, something that has time. So if you don't like just that plink, plink, plink of the metronome, then download a drum machine, because that will help and it'll give you a little more funky groove to it. Or play with somebody, as far as like play with a slow downer program. And the Fender Tune app has drum tracks and rhythms in it. So you have lots of options there. So it doesn't, you don't all just know that with anything with guitar, there are so many options. So just because you don't like one thing doesn't mean that you should shy away from playing in time or with time. Say, okay, what are some other options? Oh, drum machine. Oh, I can play with a slow downer. Oh, okay, I can tap my foot. Anything like that.
I have to say,
That'll help.
when I'm doing sessions, and if you're using a click, I always, I mean, yeah, they can make it sound like a tambourine or a shaker or something like a actual percussion instrument, and that's just kind of it's more, in a word, it's more musical. So even after all these years, I kind of look for, like you're saying, I'm looking for an alternative to that click or that beeping, because now I feel like it's music and I'm playing music. So and thank you for mentioning that Fender Tune app. You're right, it does. It has drum tracks and rhythms. This one's coming from Juan Vasquez. A roadblock can sometimes be watching a master and realizing there's a large gap between where I am and where I want to be. Dylan, you take this one.
Yeah, I don't think that ever goes away. I would maybe say that's like a call to action, even too. It's sort of like what that master has done for you as parsed down a lot of different things into what you need to work on. So as you're listening to your playing, if your main goal is to critique yourself in a negative way, then it's not really a constructive way to listen. If your main goal is to say, like, what's different between what I'm doing and what this person is doing. So if it was double picking, for instance, let's see if I can. Apparently we're playing neoclassical music. Anyways, if it was double picking, you would want to try to figure out, okay, what is that person doing differently than what I'm doing? Is it cleaner? Is it is their pick attack? What kind of pick are they using? All these different things. And it gives you the questions to ask. And so often that's what you need, is what, I don't even know what questions to ask to get better. I'm just fledgling, right? So looking at a master and saying, this is a guide, not a competitor, or not a something to feel shameful about.
Okay. Now, here are a couple of questions on what we'll call self-diagnosis. Like how to figure out when to move on or when to go back. Jensen, you're a master instructor after all those views and all these years. What do you have to say about that? But how a student or a guitar learner can learn when to move on or when to go back?
I have a specific philosophy on this, actually. And usually what I would say is, whatever you're working on, could you give yourself the grade of a B or above? So not an A plus, because an A plus is nearly impossible for all of us to get all the time, right? Maybe we have a good show and we play it great, but most of the time we're shooting for a B or above. So you're like, okay, that was great. There's still some things I need to work on. But what I like to do is, when you get to that place and you don't feel like you can troubleshoot anymore, then I like to shelve it for 1 month to 2 months. So you say, okay, I'm going to put this away. I'm going to put some sort of reminder on my phone to tell me to come back to it. And then in that time, I'm going to learn some new things, get to a place of a B or better, shelve it with another month or two, and then so on. Then you have your reminder to come back, and you would have gained so much experience in that 1 to 2 months. So you're looking back at it and going, oh, wow, I actually have learned some stuff, even though I'm not focusing on this one thing. Because I think a lot of us get in the habit of, we try to hit the same thing in the same direction and we don't go anywhere. But we need to put it away, get a new perspective with some songs, and then come back to it. But there has to be a decent amount of time in between. So I would say, grade yourself, give yourself an honest grade, not an F minus, but like, that was pretty good. Shelve it, start working on something else, and then go back.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to even add to that, because that's actually a really insightful way to look at that. I'll give you a personal example of exactly what Jensen's talking about. I probably learned Dust in the Wind, I don't know, in junior high or something. It still brings a tear to the eye, though. But so how do I make that?
You're my boy, Blue.
Do I move on? And so the question is, well, what about the violin solo? So I'll share with you guys where I am with that, and you can diagnose. anyways, you get the idea. So the violins keeps going on. We've got the right. So it's like it never ends. You can always keep going, right?
By the way,
maybe I should be asking, when do you stop? I don't know.
Stop, Dylan. Stop.
We can help you with that, Dylan. First of all, you said, should I move on? Yes, you should always move on because we're dust in the wind. Second, that's another piece. Another good piece of advice in terms of getting past the plateau is learn something for another instrument. When I was in college, my guitar instructor, he actually gave me it was clarinet sheet music. So it wasn't music written for guitar, but it was to help my single note reading, and he knew it was music that I wouldn't come across normally. I have students study sax solos to help with phrasing. So yeah, that's another good one. Now, final words of encouragement from our experts. Wait. Last question. Sorry. Dan Davis wants to know, how do you fight back against just plain laziness? Jensen, this is yours.
How do you know what? The best thing for me to do to fight back laziness is to build a community. Build a community of people that we text each other and say, hey, did you practice guitar today? Or, hey, this is what I'm learning. And have 1, 2, 3, 15, 20 people that you're in communication with that are trying to do the same things that you're doing. Because that, to me, makes it bigger than just you sitting in your apartment or in your house. And then you don't have to play anything for anybody ever. But just knowing like, hey, I feel lazy, I'm going to text this person and be like, I feel like I don't want to play. And then they respond with, just try it. And you do it. So it's getting out of your own head and trying to force yourself to do something different. Ask for help. Say, I feel lazy today. And see what happens.
Yeah. You have, like, people get workout partners or running partners or something like that. Another person
accountability.
Accountability. That's the thing.
Okay,
So before we move on, we're almost out of time already. So some final words of encouragement from our experts. Dylan, words of encouragement, please.
You know what? Always go back to why you're doing this. You're doing this for you, and you're doing this for catharsis and to literally to feel the human experience, for humanities. This is the thing that makes it's a way to actually put our experience in life into a form, and it's in the musical form. Always reach for the emotional part of it. Don't shy away from when things kind of make you sad, a song, or it makes you happy. Lean into it. Lean into the fear of an agitation of things, because neuroscience-wise, agitation, fear, these things are always precede a reward, and so they always mean that you're going to have a great experience on the other side in perspective. So always lean into those challenges.
There you go. Dylan, are you needed? Are you okay?
I'm okay. Yeah, no, that was just the police.
It was a break-in.
I'm sure
Thank goodness. And Jensen, last words of encouragement before we move on.
I promise you can do it. You may not be able to get to the level of Stevie Ray Vaughan or Steve Vai, but you can be better than you were yesterday, and you can be better than you were a month ago. And your only job is to show up, play, and look for the wins. Because yes, there's always going to be way more that we don't know than what we do, but that's true for everybody. Everybody in this community, everybody on this instrument will always know less than what is possible. So you just show up, you play, you look for your wins. And that's it. There you go.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for you guys for lending your time, your expertise on this. I think our community really benefited from this. But we're out of time, so we need to move on to the rest of the show, the fun stuff. As many of you know, we like to assign homework on this show, and I think this week is especially important given the topic. So we want to leave you with some actionable things to work on. So let's get to it. Jensen, you have the beginner stuff.
Okay, beginner. Spend a week learning a new chord. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's an open position chord, maybe like a C or a G, maybe a bar chord, maybe a bar chord up here, maybe some kind of extended chord here, maybe some little shape here. I don't care what it is, just a new chord. You can do it.
Very cool. And for the intermediate, I want you to spend a week learning a new riff. We have a whole riff section on the Fender Play site, so you have no excuse. One of my favorites is up there. It's Bring It On Home by Led Zeppelin. Goes on like that. So please spend a week learning a new riff. Pick any riff from the riff section of Fender Play. And Dylan, you have the advanced. You're the doctor.
Great tone on that. Jeez. Okay, so for the advanced folks, spend a week learning a new song from top to bottom. So I mean, get all the nuances, listen to the thing, really listen to it. Listen for just the smallest things that are in there. You're going to play harder, you're going to play softer. A new song that's on the site that's a full song is you know what? So there's a lot of nuance in just as opposed to going. So there's a lot there, right? And those learn from top to bottom. Go at it. Go nuts.
Very cool. I'm glad you're the one that you're qualified to tell people to just go nuts. You're the guy. So let's get to the giveaway. First, Dylan, you've got a new guitar. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like it sort of insists upon itself, right? It demanded to be talked about. It's the Miami Blue Pro American II dose. It's the Miami blue color. This is a really killing guitar. I don't know if you can hear the snappiness that's in this thing. So it's really just got a ton of power in it. It's got the V-Mod pickups, this really cool feature that we were talking about a minute ago. This looks like a standard coil tap, but it actually runs these two pickups in parallel. So if you don't know what that means, we can talk more about it later, but it's really an awesome thing to look at. The neck feels great because it's got this super smooth polyurethane. I can keep going on, but the producer's going to kill me. Check it out.
Look, producer Perry wants to kill you all the time.
I know,
I don't know why you would pick that now.
It's nothing. Yeah. I don't know.
So, and then also we also have a giveaway?
Yeah, we do a little giveaway every week.
Make like Huey Lewis to give us the news, huh?
Yeah, wow. Okay, well, so
God,
for anybody that doesn't know about jokes on the show, for anybody that doesn't know, we give away. We have the Fender Play giveaway. So every week, a lucky Fender Play subscriber basically gets their name called because they've used Fender Play for at least 3 7-minute sessions, which equal 1 streak. So if you're on Fender Play, which hopefully you are, you get 3 7-minute sessions, you get a streak. The more streaks you get, the more chances you are entered to win. The more times you're entered to win, the better shot I have of calling your name. And if you get your name called, you get to pick from guitars, basses, amps, ukuleles, all kinds of stuff, just like what I'm holding here and these guys are holding. So are you guys ready to hear who won this week? Is everybody ready?
I am ready. Is this drum roll time?
Drum roll.
Here we go. Jason C. Jason C.
Woo!
Jason C.
That's right. Jason C. That's Jason with an I. Jaison.
It's like a Jason. It's almost French.
Jason C.
Well, congrats to you, Jason, and enjoy your new guitar, bass, amp, or whatever it is you choose. Dylan, what else do you have for us? We can't get enough of you.
I know. I'm just a popular guy. I want to remind everybody of a contest we're running on Fender Play Instagram where we're teaming up with Fender artists each week to give you a chance to win up to $1,000 in Fender gear. Check out the description and the video for more information about it. This week's challenge with Blue to Tiger ends tomorrow. So be sure to get the entry in ASAP and follow Fender Play on Instagram so you don't miss the next challenge.
Very, very cool. And any play updates that you know of?
Yeah. So one of them I just talked about, which was the full song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. No, it's just I Can't Get Satisfaction. Anyway, so the Rolling Stones, you might have heard of them. Another one, I believe Jensen. Yeah, I believe Jensen actually does this video, and it's Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop.
You're welcome.
Any first of all, thank you. And Jensen, any tips, any inside word on Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop?
Just take that one slow because there's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of groove to it. So just take it slow so you get the transitions nice and clean.
There you go. There you go. Good. A tip from the master. Well, thank you, Dylan and Jensen. I can't tell you how much fun this was, and hopefully we'll do more panel shows like this in the future. Hopefully everybody got their questions answered. If you have more questions, you know how to reach out to us. You can find these two in the Fender Play community on Facebook. And until next week, everyone, I want you to keep safe, keep practicing, and we'll see you next time. Everybody play out on a G chord. You ready? 1, 2, 3.